Dun, 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 dun.
In the mix of projects associated with the involvement of Samuel L. Jackson, I'm not sure how potent the audience for this one will be in terms of incoming traffic. I mean, I hope it does well. The synopsis sounds good, and we'll read about it in a minute before we watch the trailer together, but I think, of course, the name Samuel L. Jackson, very well-known actor. Will the fix have, the audience potential that Marvel and Star Wars do? I'm going to go out on a limb here and say no. But it's not to discredit this project in any way. I'm just like, well, those are major top-tier brands. And when people think of Samuel L. Jackson, or maybe they'll think of another film he starred in, whatever that might be, there's other films that will register, maybe other TV shows and other media projects. I hope this one maybe, it serves as a name. Now, maybe, again, it doesn't have the status that some of the other ones do in terms of involvement, because I believe he's narrating here. I think that's as far as it goes. But this is a new Roku exclusive show. I mean, again, there is some appeal here. Some people might be drawn in by the name of Samuel L. Jackson. Other people might be drawn in on the fact that this is a new Roku program that I believe will be streaming. Yeah, of course, that's what Synopsis says. It'll be streaming for free on January 21st. I think when I'm making this video, that was a couple days ago, so apologies for me being late. But I mean, who doesn't love the word free? So that might bring people in. You might have people who are interested in topics regarding larger society and the world today and some relevant issues that we're discussing and dealing with and trying to find practical solutions for. That might bring people in. You might have documentary enthusiasts like myself who look at this and go, there's some potential here, at least from the sounds of the plot. Maybe this will garner some traffic, and again, I hope it does. Now, I'm not the best exposed to the project in its totality, and you'll see that as we go forward, but this is, as I said, a new Roku show, like many of their programs, as pretty much, well, really all their exclusives for the most part, and all the Quibi projects that they've acquired and are now distributed on their platform. You can watch it for free, whether that be on your Roku device, or I believe the app. Maybe there's a couple other options beyond that. Again, I'm still getting into I'm still in the early stages of getting involved with the Roku platform. But I've been really interested in a lot of the content I've seen. Let's see how the fix stacks up. This is what you can expect according to the synopsis from the Roku channel on YouTube. Based on Chasing the Scream, The First and Last Days of the War on Drugs by Johan Hari. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name either way. I haven't heard the name before. And narrated by Samuel L. Jackson, docuseries The Fix debunks common misunderstandings about drugs and addiction in the U.S. Stream free on January 21st. Again, that's going to be a huge attraction, I'm sure, for many that might just randomly stumble upon this project being like, oh, it's free, I don't have to pay. I mean, again, there's a lot of our streaming services, too, that might carry this type of documentary, especially in regards to the topic this is dealing with, but those might be behind a paywall. So, unlike those other services, Roku maybe it's an extra advantage for you at that point. But I think it sounds good. So again, as I said, I'm not the best exposed to it. Other than, again, there's some elements of familiarity. Samuel L. Jackson, the topic involved, we'll get to that. But Chasing the Scream, The First and the Last Days of the War on Drugs, I believe that's a book. I haven't read it. I'd be interested in it based on, maybe we'll see. I'm not sure what I'll do first. Maybe I'll watch or read the book or I'll watch the show. I'm not exactly sure. But the topic is, I think, a good one to explore. I'm curious, as somebody who, well, I'm both a documentary enthusiast, and you can kind of fit it into there. I'm a history enthusiast as well. And the war on drugs, I mean, I love to learn. And that's what documentaries fundamentally do, right? They give you the opportunity to learn about concepts that might be, wherever your knowledge might be. You might be the most, well-informed person on the topic, or, like me, there's a lot of room for growth in regard to your exposure. And the war on drugs is a topic that I'm getting more into. I mean, I'm still know bits and pieces, but I obviously have a lot more to learn, in particular, those specific events. But the topics of drug and addiction, I'm interested to see common misunderstandings. I wonder if there's any sort of ideas that I believe in that regarding conversations along this line that are ill-founded or not best informed. Maybe, again, as I say, a common misunderstanding. Is there anything I've picked up that may be inaccurate? We'll see in terms of the duration of the show. But the topics of drugs and addiction, I'm sure many people, including myself, can relate to that in whatever capacity. Maybe it's through personal, trials and tribulations for someone's life. I mean, I don't know perhaps who I'm speaking to, but maybe you struggle with drug addiction, which is a very hard battle to conquer. But I think even if maybe we don't have the personal exposure, I don't. We can look at the external world around us, maybe people that are loved ones, friends, general acquaintances, just people we see, when we go out, shopping or just walking around in some place, and we see the toll that this takes. I mean, again, and that's going to be, I think, well, in terms of what I'm specifically thinking of, it's more of a geographical sense. And maybe, again, not everybody shares in my particular experiences, but at least where I'm coming from, the topic of drugs and addiction is pretty prominent in my area, considering that there's a lot of activity, especially, again, you see there's a lot of elements in which that can come up. You've got people that, of course, just get hooked on stuff maybe at a young age, maybe when they're older, people that fall into depressive situations. I mean, it's 2020, well, it was 2020 and 2021 past tense. Now it's 2022, and I think some of the sentiments we felt for the past couple years have carried forward, and you certainly see, again, the toll that can take on somebody's life in terms of maybe the factors that instigate it. Maybe depression, it might be just economic circumstances, family hardship. I mean, there's a lot of things that can drive anybody to addiction, or more specifically, I think, especially in my community, drugs. And you often, again, see you can. It's pretty easy, at least when you're me, maybe you just go driving through town, and you can see the effect of that, whether they be maybe random needles on the street, or somebody on the street corner that maybe had too much to drink, or got on something stronger. I mean, there's plenty of variety in that department. But again, I'm interested to learn. I hope, in some capacity, again, I don't know the book here. I'll look into it more going forward after this. But I hope at the very least, I mean, again, this is a documentary. It's going to be very informational. But I wonder maybe at the end if we're going to get some practical solutions. I mean, that would be a nice way to leave things, to have a point of launch in regard to, how do we deal with these issues, in the world today, independent from the fix. What can it teach us in regard to solutions that we might employ in our communities, and people, and loved ones that we might know day to day that can help get people out of the throes that addiction can place someone in. Let's go ahead and take a look at the main trailer for The Fix and get a first impression for the show. We're going to go ahead and watch the main trailer for Season 1. First, I'm calling it Season 1, even though it's kind of like a mini-series. And we'll talk about it, from my sense, we'll talk about it more in my condensed review segment. Phone is watching the video together. Okay. The Fix first trailer. Alright, without further ado, here we go. Let's get it rolling.
Almost everything we think we know about drug enforcement, about addiction, the opioid crisis, legalization, everything we think we know is wrong.
It's a lie.
When you ban drugs, destroy the sources, police the streets every day, drug dealing does not go down.
The murder rate actually goes up.
It's a very deep project.
What if the script we know so well,
a lot of things you're wrestling with here, obviously the historical
and
approach.
it was all based on a lie?
I mean, yeah, you saw that from Synopsis, the fact that they mentioned that the war on drugs specifically, that is going to bring in some political discourse. I would imagine maybe not too extensive, but they're going to stay, hopefully, they stay on track with it in regard to the main focus being drug addiction, by and large. But that is a critical point of conversation. There's many different facets I see. I mean, again, you've got the historical component, you've got older footage, first-person interviews of obviously leading experts in this particular regard to, wherever they're touching on in the overall narrative. Some physical pieces of evidence. You got a couple newspaper headlines here. I was going to say, I didn't see much in the way of, well, some modern-day footage, it looks like, but not as much. So again, maybe this is looking more at drug addiction from a past tense, maybe so we can draw, impressions from that and see how that's still existent within the world today, if you know what I mean. Sort of get a mirror parallel model going in our minds as we're watching this. It looks good. I mean, again, this is a very small trailer in regard to giving us a first impression at just 30 seconds, which is typical for a lot of the Roku stuff. I imagine this was probably meant to be a Quibi production. It's sort of branded that way. The shorter trailers was kind of their thing. And again, like I said, for those of you who might not be familiar, the Quibi streaming service, all that content that was on that original streaming service that was the first to die, essentially, got moved over to Roku. And so now you can watch all the shows that I've covered, I think, every Quibi show at this point. All those shows moved over to the Roku platform, and now you can watch it for free via your app or your Roku devices. And the way this is marketed, it looked like it was probably going to be a Quibi show earlier on. Now it's being marketed as a Roku original. So if you want to go learn more about the war on drugs and maybe, again, the implications of drug and addiction, and perhaps in a way that you can reflect on, maybe your surroundings and the loved ones in your life, people that you might, come into the vicinity of, this project might foster some discussion and intuition about where to go forward in our modern day. Because again, I'm assuming this is going to dive more into the history side, just again based on what I'm seeing. And maybe you can get a clearer sense after you've read the book. I'm going to look more into it. I would like to learn more from different perspectives. What are your guys' thoughts with The Fix? And for those of you who might be familiar with Chasing the Scream, it goes by 2 different titles. I'll just use the shorter one in this case. What was your general impression? Did it teach you, more about, I guess, the history of drug addiction and stuff like that? And maybe, did that give you a sense of where you can go? Or maybe the people around you, maybe you can look to different institutions. Did you see a path forward and potential solutions? Feel free to let me know what your thoughts are down below. Don't forget all the good stuff, like, subscribe to sharing that bell, until I get to watch more from the Roku platform in the future. Because, again, I'm very curious of a lot of their projects. There's been some that have been quite good. In fact, some ones that I've seen. I will see you guys at whatever point that happens to be. For now, thanks for watching this video. I love you guys. Don't forget to love yourselves and your fellow man. God bless and peace.